Welcome to another video for Verasys. My name is Rob Snoward, and today I'm going to talk to you about connecting a rooftop unit up to Verasys and how to configure it, how to set it up so that it works properly with Verasys. So in a previous video, you saw how to set the network address of a smart equipment rooftop unit. So this video is going to cover connecting it up to the bus. So first, I'd like to refer to the BACnet MSTP Communications Technical Bulletin. This is where we talk about the various buses and the typology for Verasys. So under the MSTP bus types is a picture of kind of what it is that I'm doing. So the Simplicity Smart Equipment rooftop unit can be located on two different trunks. It could be either located on the system bus, or it could be located on the secondary zone bus off the zone coordinator. Now, it is located on the system bus when it is a single zone rooftop unit. However, if it's a changeover bypass rooftop unit or a VAV rooftop unit, it must be wired to the system bus. So that way the zone coordinator then knows what the whole system is. So I'm going to go over this here today. So I have on the floor next to me, I have a Simplicity Smart Equipment test panel, and I have a Smart Building Hub, and I also have a zone coordinator. So I'm going to log into my Smart Building Hub. And you'll see that up and running, I have my zone coordinator attached to it. So zone coordinator is this particular device. So I have a wire coming off my Smart Building Hub going to the zone coordinator. And then I'm going to take that wire and connect it up to my Simplicity Smart Equipment rooftop unit. So I'm going to do that right now. I have the address of my rooftop unit set to number 24. So it'll come up on the system bus as address 4. Okay, so I have it plugged in, and you can see that it came up. So I'm going to go into the configuration of this rooftop unit and just take a look at how it's set up. So as I click on it, it brings up the view definition. And underneath the details, service, and factory, this is where you set up the number of stages, heating, cooling, basically where you set up everything for the unit from a factory perspective. This would also include the fan control type, which could be single speed, fixed variable, or variable speed. I'm going to leave it at single speed since it's a single speed rooftop unit. And also down towards the bottom, there's another parameter that is very important to Verasys underneath the miscellaneous section. And that's where you set what type of unit. In this case, it is constant volume. So it could be a VAV or a changeover bypass as well. I'm going to keep it at constant volume. So that is correct. So at this point in time, if I'm setting this up on a real job, I could at this point in time set the schedule. So there's two ways I could set the schedule. One is to take the schedule and modify it individually at the rooftop unit, or I could use the schedule sync feature for Verasys, and I could add a new schedule, and this would be a schedule that I could use on multiple devices, not just a singular device. So we'll call it a weekly schedule. And when doing a weekly schedule, you always need to declare what at midnight, where should you be? So in this case, I will declare midnight to be unoccupied at midnight. Now we'll just say that the rest of the schedule is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And notice as I'm setting this, I've done a couple little things where I click on the actual time, and that brings up a little bit easier method of selecting a more or selecting a time. So we'll say 5:30 in this case. So and you can see the time change up here in the left-hand corner as well. And at that time, we'll make it unoccupied. So I have a schedule here. Now it's a matter of just syncing it to my rooftop unit device. I could also sync it to my zone coordinator, and we'll do that when we change it to a VAV. So now when I save the schedule sync, it will set the schedule to the device. In fact, as interesting as enough, I've heard some clicking in the background, so something turned on. Yeah, we went into heat. So if I look at this occupancy schedule, it just synced up to what I just did. So that's the schedule sync feature and how to use it in Verasys. And you can set multiple objects as you bring more and more rooftop units onto the device list. They'll show up in the schedule sync to be set to that. So other than those two items, you can take a look at some of the trending that may be going on your system status. See what your unit status has been, and you'll notice that I just turned on because I just set a schedule to the device. You can take a look at other trends in there as well. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to move this rooftop unit underneath the zone coordinator, physically going to detach it from this bus, and I'm going to move it to the zone coordinator bus. So this will come offline and it will go underneath the zone coordinator. So I'm going to do that right now, and then we can set it up for either a VAV or changeover bypass unit. Okay, so I've unplugged the rooftop unit, and you can see that it went offline, which was expected, and now it's moving to the zone coordinator. When I set up a VAV unit and a changeover bypass unit, I like to do exactly this. Let's get the zone coordinator talking to Smart Building Hub, and then get it talking to the rooftop unit before you ever bring on any zones. So we'll go through why I like doing that. First off, now I got my rooftop unit up, and I can get it operational. So secondly, in the zone underneath the zone coordinator, I then have the opportunity to get some air moving and get it set up. So the first thing I notice is when I click under unit, I have an unsupported rooftop. And that's because you cannot set a constant volume rooftop unit on underneath the zone coordinator. Reason being is the zone coordinator is looking for either a variable air volume unit or a changeover bypass unit. And right now it doesn't know what it needs to be. And one of the things that's really obvious is if you look underneath the details section, is you really don't get much of anything. Usually with VAV, you would get whatever the VAV setup is, and usually with the changeover bypass, you would get what the changeover bypass has for under details. So the details section is your clue, one of your clues, as well as when you see the zoning system state to unsupported rooftop unit, that means we need to set up our rooftop unit. So I'm going to go into the device list, and I'm going to click on the rooftop unit. And once again, we will go to details factory, details service factory to set it up. But first I want to point out, remember that schedule block that we had on the rooftop unit? Notice it went away. That's because the schedule resides now in the zone coordinator. So before, when it was up here, this schedule appeared. It's been removed because the zone coordinator now holds the schedule and commands the rooftop unit on. So I just wanted to point that out really quick while we're in this screen. So under details, service, and factory, here is where we would set up our unit. So we'll say it's a variable air volume. So we'll set the fan control to variable speed, which means it'll now control to a pressure. And I'm hearing a lot of clicking on my panel in the back. And now I could set this to changeover bypass, which means my rooftop unit would control the pressure, but it would be a changeover bypass system. Or I could set it to VAV. I'll set it to VAV. Okay, once I did this, once I set the controller type to VAV, the zone coordinator will now have its details set up for a VAV system. And you will also note that the zoning system state turned to OK. We now have a supported rooftop unit. So what can I do now with this is we can now run the unit and move air, which means I can now start to bring on VAV boxes and set them up. I can use the smart building hub and a Wi-Fi, whether it be a laptop or whether it be a tablet or whether it be a phone. I could then connect to it to set up the VAV boxes as we go. Another thing that's important or that's nice about this is if I do hook up a VAV box now and I have a wiring problem like with the trunk, it will take down the trunk. So anyway, now is a good time. This is how I like to set up multi-zone units: is first get the zone coordinator, then get the rooftop unit, then start bringing on the zones. If you try to bring up everything all at one time, you're going to potentially have wiring errors and other errors that you may have had as you installed, and then you're overwhelmed by errors. So if you do it one at a time, you methodically bring up your system and you end up having some better results. And you can sort of keep the customer happy if they happen to be occupying part of that space. So lastly, we can go ahead and we could add in the schedule sync for the zone coordinator. So notice that rooftop is still there because it's still present on the trunk. But as soon as I hit save, now my zone coordinator schedule will have our schedule that we put in at the beginning of this video. At the same time, I can set up the coordinator, supply air temp, and if it was a changeover bypass system, I could set up the voting strategy and all of the other things. I can set up some of the control features. We have a document that goes over the various control strategies. So if you want to read more about those, we can pull open the Verasys systems sequence operations document, and it will go through what the various reset strategies. It'll also go over the changeover bypass strategies that you can set up. Anyway, that concludes my video on how to hook up a UPG smart equipment unit to Verasys, whether you're in a single zone configuration or you're multi-zone. Thank you very much.